वंदेहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Hare Krishna, Kaustubh Ramanujam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, maybe a minute more. Maybe devotees will be joining now. Maybe a minute. That's more.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Welcome all to the Nityam Bhagavata Seva sessions. Today we'll hear from His Grace Kaustubh Ramanujam Prabhu from Canto 5, Chapter 19, Text 28. Prabhuji, over to you. You can switch on your video also, and with the prayers you can start.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to this morning Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya session. The day-to-day discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. We are discussing from a very beautiful section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, as all of you know. We'll start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Krishnapadan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamshta Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We're discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 19th chapter, text number 28 today. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 19th chapter, text number 28. A beautiful verse and a very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. I'll just recite the verse. If anybody can, you can just repeat behind me. One devotee can just repeat behind me. Yadyatra na swarga sukhavasheshitam.
Yadyatra na swarga sukhavasheshitam.
Svishtasya suktasya kritasya shobhanam.
Svistasya shuktasya kritasya shobhanam.
Tena janabhe smritimajjanmana syat.
Tena janabhe smritimajjanmana syad.
Varshe hariryad bhajatam shamtanoti.
Varshe hariryat bhajatam shantanoti.
Yadyatra na swarga sukhavasheshitam.
Yadyatra na swarga sukhavasheshitam.
Svishtasya suktasya kritasya shobhanam.
Svistasya suktasya kritasya shobhanam.
Tena janabhe smritimajjanmana syat.
Tena janabe smritimajjanmana syad.
Varshe hariryad bhajatam shamtanoti.
Varshe hariryat bhajatam shamtanoti.
Thank you, Fuji. I forgot to recite the prayers before reciting the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktirbhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I'll just recite the synonyms. Yadi, if, atra, in this heavenly planet, naha, of us, swarga sukha avasheshitam, whatever remains after the enjoyment of heavenly happiness, suishtasya, of a perfect sacrifice, suuktasya, of diligently studying the Vedic literature, kritasya, of having performed a kind act, shobhanam, the resultant actions, tena, by such a resultant action, ajanabhe, in the land of Bharatavarsha, smrtimat janma, a birth enabling one to remember the lotus feet of the Lord, naha, of us, syat, let there be, varshe, in the land, harihi, the supreme personality of Godhead, yat, wherein, bhajatam, of the devotees, shamtanoti, expands the auspiciousness. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: we are now living in the heavenly planets, undoubtedly as a result of our having performed ritualistic ceremonies, pious activities and yajnas, and having studied the Vedas. However, our lives here will one day be finished. We pray that at that time, if any merit remains from our pious activities, we may again take birth in Bharatavarsha as human beings able to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so kind that He personally comes to the land of Bharatavarsha and expands the good fortune of its people. Purport: it is certainly as a result of pious activities that one takes birth in the heavenly planets. But from those planets, one must nevertheless come down again to earth. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. Even the demigods must return to earth to work like ordinary men when the results of their pious activities expire. Nevertheless, the demigods desire to come to the land of Bharatavarsha if even a small portion of their merits of their pious activities remains. In other words, to take birth in Bharatavarsha, one must perform more pious activities than the demigods. In Bharatavarsha, one is naturally Krishna conscious. If one further cultivates his Krishna consciousness, by the grace of Krishna, he certainly expands his good fortune by becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness and very easily going back home, back to Godhead. In many other places in the Vedic literature, it is found that even the demigods want to come to this land of Bharatavarsha. A foolish person may desire to be promoted to the heavenly planets as a result of his pious activities, but even the demigods on the heavenly planets want to come to Bharatavarsha and achieve bodies that may be very easily used to cultivate Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu repeatedly says, Bharata Bhumite Haila Manushya Janmayar.
Hare Krishna, not being heard, Prabhu.
I think Prabhu. Kaustubh Ramanujam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry, there was a slight internet connection problem. I'll just
No
complete
problem.
the purport.
Yes.
By taking full advantage of Krishna consciousness, one goes back home, back to Godhead. Yanti madhyajinopi mam. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore spreading this facility to human society by opening many, many centers all over the world so that people may associate with the pure devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement, understand the signs of Krishna consciousness, and ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. So it's a beautiful section that is currently in discussion. It's beautiful because the glories of the place where we are staying is described. It's natural that anybody would want to hear about, even a person who is afflicted with the false ego. He wants to hear more about himself, more about the person, the place from which, the place to which he belongs, the family to which he belongs, his ancestors, the glories of that family, right? It's natural. So Prabhupada very nicely said that we can dovetail the same propensity, and from false ego we can come to the platform of true ego. We cannot give up the ego. The ego is always there. The true ego is that to realize that I am the eternal servant of Krishna, and to realize that all circumstances and all conditions that are favorable to returning to my true position are actually worth meditating upon. Just like before coming to Krishna consciousness, maybe we also had a lot of pride. We took pride in our nation. We took pride in our language. We took pride in the family to which we belonged. Just like Gauranga Prabhu says that once he had gone to cultivate some well-wisher, and there he saw it was a big person. He was a big person. He saw in the main hall in which they were sitting almost like 4 to 5 generations of their predecessors, ancestors. All of their portraits were hung in the wall, just like we do for our Guru Parampara. He had his father, his grandfather, his great grandfather, something like that. So that is false ego, right? Because that is based on the bodily conception of life. But after coming to Krishna consciousness, we worship our parampara. We have our spiritual master, and then Prabhupada, and then Saraswati Thakur. Like this, we have the Guru Parampara. So this is the platform of true ego. So before coming to Krishna consciousness, we took pride in our nation. On Republic Day or any other day, we have such a huge parade, and all of us, we took pride. When we were in school, we used to participate in the NCC cadets group, marching and all of that. We really took pride in the nation. But after coming to Krishna consciousness, we understand what is the true value of this land, not just of this so-called tract of India that we have today, but of the entire Varsha known as the Bharata Varsha, right? That is what is under discussion right now, Bharata Varsha. So in the 18th and the 19th chapters of the 5th canto, Shukadeva Goswami describes the prayers of the residents of Jambudvipa. So very intelligently, instead of just describing the 9 Varshas, he very intelligently intersperses the description of the nine islands of Jambudvipa, the prayers of the respective residents of the respective Varshas. Right? Just like we started with the description of Bhadrashva Varsha in the 18th chapter. Then came Hari Varsha. Then I guess Ketumala Varsha. Like this, one after the other, all the 9 islands are described. But the geography of the description of Jambudvipa is interspersed with the description of the prayers of the respective residents of those Varshas. Just like in Hari Varsha, there is Prahlada, who is glorifying Hari, who is none other than Lord Nrsimha. And just before the description of the Bharata Varsha, the 8th Varsha was described, which is none other than the Kim Purusha Varsha. In the Kim Purusha Varsha, there is a description of the prayers of Hanumanji. Hanumanji along with the other residents of Kim Purusha Varsha towards Lord Ramachandra. And finally, as they say, the best is always reserved for the last. Just like in many South Indian or in Maharashtrian and in Bengali traditional servings, we see when we sit for a traditional, taking prasadam traditionally, generally the sweet is served towards the end. Correct, no? Just so that Madhurayana Samapayet. In Sanskrit also there is a saying, Madhurayana Samapayet. Let the completion be with sweet, like that. So the best is reserved for the last. So therefore, the 9th Varsha, which is the Bharata Varsha, is described at the end because that is most suitable for anybody who wishes to get out of the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. Right? So Bharata Varsha is the most suitable. And here from verse 9, we started listening to the description of Narada himself, who is actually describing the glories of Bharata Varsha. Why? Because for Narada, it is said that his Ishta Devata is Naranarayana Rishi. That is how the name Narada also comes. Narada, the meaning of the word Narada is Narayanam Dadati. Dadati means to give. The one who gives Narayana to others. And his worshipable deity is Naranarayan Rishis. And in Bharata Varsha, it is said that the worshipable deities are Naranarayan Rishis. We saw all that description from verse 9 onwards. And Narada himself is describing the glories of Naranarayan Rishi as well as the glories of Bharata Varsha itself. Because he really feels that this tract of land called Bharata Varsha is the most suitable for conditioned souls to get out of the cycle of birth and death. And he is quoting other pramanas also. He is not saying that I am the only pramana for this. No. Initially, he described his own Narada Bhakti Sutras, in which he very succinctly says that Bharata Varsha is the most suitable. And then he starts quoting the demigods. And that's what we are discussing right now. The demigods themselves feel that this tract of land called Bharata Varsha is the most suitable. In the Bhumandala itself, there are so many sections. We have seen all the cosmology. And then when it comes to Jambudvipa also, there are 9 Varshas. But even amongst those 9 Varshas, this Bharata Varsha is the most suitable. And Narada is quoting the demigods saying this. And he gives sufficient pramana from the demigods themselves. Atishaya Indriya Utsukaha. We saw that word described in all previous verses. Atishaya Indriya Utsukaha. In the demigods, in the heavenly planets where the demigods are staying, there is excessive sense gratification available. So much so that they are not able to even chant the names of Rama and Krishna, continuously. Because Gaurang Prabhu says very funnily that just supposing that you sit for chanting Hare Krishna in the heavenly planetary systems, and immediately 10 Apsaras come and start dancing around you, what will you chant? Right? It is quite difficult to get rid of that temptation. Of course, for pure devotees, that may not be a temptation. But for conditioned souls, it is definitely a temptation, and they will not be able to chant. Gaurang Prabhu says that you will continue to chant, but you will chant their names, the Apsaras names, not the holy names. Right? So, Atishaya Indriya Utsukaha. And in this verse, very beautifully, they tell that what is their cherished intention. What do they cherish within the core of their hearts? That they want to come to Bharatavarsha. That's what they are saying in this verse. Right? Let me just go through the verse again. Yadi atra naha swarga sukha avasheshitam. That's what they say in the beginning. Naha means of us. Atra refers to that planet in which they are residing. So swarga sukha avasheshitam. If at all some pious credits remain after we are done with all the swarga sukha, right? So that is not virtually possible, because you will not come down from the swarga lokas till all the pious credits are complete, according to the Bhagavad Gita, right? That's what Srila Prabhupada is quoting in the purport. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna very succinctly describes how one gets to come back. One not gets to, but one has to come back from the heavenly planetary systems once he goes there, right? In the 20th and 21st verses of the 9th chapter, Krishna says about this. त्रैविद्यामां सोमपाः भूतपापा यज्ञैरिष्ट्वा स्वर्गतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यमासाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोकम् अष्टन्ति दिव्यान् दिविदेव भोगान्. Krishna says.
Kaustubh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I'm so sorry, Hare Krishna. Can you just readjust your video, Prabhuji? Yes, now it's better. Yes, Prabhuji, better. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Traividyamam Somapaha Bhutapapa, he says. So, this means that those who are attached to just the Vedic regulations, the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas, without understanding the goal of those Vedic rituals which they are doing. That's how many of the acharyas describe. In the purport to this verse, Ramanujacharya also says the same thing. Natu trayantam nishtaha, traividya nishtaha, like that it is. Means they are just attached to the Vedic rituals, but they are not attached to the goal of that Vedic rituals. Just like there are two words called Veda and Vedanta, right? So those who are simply attached to the Veda, they are like attached to the flowery sections of the Vedas, because Vedic rituals give so many promises, right? So without being attached to the goal of those rituals. So Vedanta means the conclusion of those Vedas, which is actually there in the Upanishads and in the Vedanta Sutras, and of course for us in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So they go to the heavenly planets. Yajñairishtva svargatim prarthayante. They do so many yajñas. And what is the sole reason for them to do so many yajñas? Svargatim prarthayante. They want to go to the Svarga Lokas. They pray for getting their destination as the Svarga Lokas. Te punya masadya surendra lokam. And they do reach those heavenly planetary systems. Surendra Lokam, they each, even the abode of Indra, Surendra Lokam. Ashtanti Divyan Divideva Bhogan. Divyan Divideva Bhogan. So they get to experience very high quality of sense pleasure over there. But what happens after that? Te tam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. You see, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, there are two sections where the entry to the heavenly planets is described. First in the 6th chapter and second in the 9th chapter. There is a difference between the two. This may not be very well understood, so I am just telling this. Many of us know this also, but I am just repeating, because there's a very clear difference between the two. In the 6th chapter, when Krishna says, Prapya punya kritam lokanushitva shashvati samaha shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrashto bhijayate. This he says in the 6th chapter. Krishna says. So here also he talks about entry to the heavenly planetary systems. But the kind of enjoyment that one gets through the path that he describes in the 6th chapter is different from what he describes in the 9th chapter. In the 6th chapter, Krishna is talking about an accomplished yogi, one who has started his practice of yoga. Either it can be Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada, of course, says Bhakti Yoga over there. The general, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the verse. So the general commentary to that verse, because that section is dealing with the Jnana Yoga. So therefore, general commentators say that refers to Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yogis or Bhakti Yogis, when they are on their path, if they happen to fall from their path, what happens? That is the question of Arjuna in the 6th chapter. Right? Arjuna asked that question. Krishna has a very wonderful promise to Arjuna. It's a very hope-giving verse in 6:40 when he says, Parthaneveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyanakrit kashchit durgatim tata gacchati. Don't worry. Anybody who has started this path, he will only attain good. And what kind of good is that? Anybody who starts this path of yoga, be it Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, if he falls from that path because of attraction to material pleasures, he will get a very high degree of material pleasure. Because that's what he asked for, and he has sufficient pious credits in his bank account as well, which can support his having those material pleasures. Right? And therefore, he says very clearly there that Prapya punya kritam loka nushitva shashvatihi samaha. This word is very important over there. Shashvatihi is shashvata. Shashvata means eternal. So there shashvata does not mean actually eternal. It means, according to the commentary over here, Ramanujacharya says, Yavat bhoga samaptihi. Such kind of a yogi can stay in the Svargaloka till the time his intention to enjoy or his enjoy material pleasures remain. He is allowed to stay there till the time he desires to stay there. Not the kind of description that is there in the 9th chapter, right? Now coming to the 9th chapter, this description is of a person who solely by his pious credits, by pious karma, not by the practice of yoga, by the practice of pious karma or by accumulating pious karma, he goes to the Svargaloka. He can stay there only as long as his pious credits allow him to stay there. Not after that, not as long as his desires remain. Right? There's a distinction between the two. In the 6th chapter, therefore, Krishna says that even after such a person returns to the material world, that means that he's done with all his material pleasures, he has experienced all that he wanted to experience in the heavenly planets, and then he comes down. Even after coming down, he will get a very wonderful birth. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashta Abhijayate. That Yoga Bhrashta, who left the path of Jnana or the path of Bhakti, he went there, he enjoyed everything as long as he wanted. He has come back now to the Bhuloka. Here again, he will get to take birth in the family of either Brahmanas or Vaishyas, mercantile family, because Prabhupada says that in either of the families there is a huge advantage. In the family of Brahmanas, there is an advantage in the sense that all the wonderful samskaras are given right from one's birth, and in the family of Vaishyas or in the mercantile family, there is no need to struggle for one's survival. Right? That's how he explains. That is for a less accomplished yogi. But a more accomplished yogi, in the next verse, Krishna says, Athava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam. Yoginameva, a more accomplished yogi, he will also go there to the heavenly planetary systems as long as he desires, he will enjoy. But after coming to Bhuloka, he will take birth in the family of yogis. And there Prabhupada says he will take birth in the family of devotees. Right? So, birth in the family of devotees is extremely rare. Right? Rarest of rare things, we can say. So now again, coming back to the 9th chapter, this is not talking about that kind of a birth, right? Or that kind of a coming back. Once this kind of a person who solely on the strength of his pious karma goes to the heavenly planetary systems, he has to return. But his birth in the family of Brahmanas or in the family of Vaishyas, or even in the, of course, not in the family of devotees, is not at all ensured. He may get even an animal birth after coming back to this Bhuloka. It solely depends on his karma, right? His pious karma allowed him to go to the heavenly planetary systems, but Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. Prabhupada used to quote this verse very often, especially this phrase, kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. And what is that kshine punye martyalokam vishanti? Ramanujacharya says in his purport, in his commentary, tad anubhava hetu bhute punye kshine punarapi martyalokam vishanti. Because that punya was the cause of his going to the heavenly planetary systems. Hetu bhutam. That got exhausted. So now he is coming back to the Bhuloka. Right? So the demigods in the heavenly planetary systems, they are well aware of this philosophy. Right? So they know this very well. that at any point in time we may be kicked out of this heavenly planetary systems, even it be till Indraloka, till I guess Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaloka. Of course, after that, generally one does not come back. That's how Prabhupada says. Till Janaloka, one has to come back. And how they will come back, that was also described here. Evam trayi dharma manuprapannaha gata gata kama kama labhante gata agataha. Gataha means to go, agataha means to come. So this kind of going and coming, just like one goes to the second floor and comes back to the first floor or to the ground floor, like that they will go keep doing this till the time they realize that this is not worth it. This effort is not the result is not worth the endeavor, right? So in the heavenly planet systems, all the demigods, they are well aware of this philosophy, and so therefore they are praying like this, right? So this is something about what Prabhupada says in the beginning of the purport. I'm just going to the purport. When I go to the purport, maybe my video will turn off, but I will just come back. I'll just read the purport and come back. Okay, so please bear with me. I'm using my phone, so my laptop
Should I
is
share,
unable.
Prabhuji? I can share.
Yeah, you can share the
Okay.
purport. That is better, so that my video remains. So yeah, just a verse, not this Prabhuji, into the our Bhagavatam verse 5:19:28. So till the time Prabhuji shares, I will. Yes, correct. Just the verse for now, Prabhuji. I will tell you when we have to go to the purport. Thank you very much. So the verse says, Swishtasya Suktasya Kritasya Shobhanam. So these are the three reasons by which one can get such a demigodly birth. Of course, we should not be inspired to know the reasons, but still they are telling the reasons over here. Swishtasya, Suishtasya, that means by performing many yajnas. Suuktasya means by here the commentary over here says pravachanas, by lecturing a lot. By lecturing a lot on any topic, on especially on karma kanda, right? So that is suktasya. And third one is, I think there is no clarity. I'm not able to see the words properly.
Kritasya.
Okay, kritasya. Okay, I think there is some disturbance. I don't know in the internet or something. Okay, fine. We'll come back. Kritasya means to execute many pious activities, and then one gets to go to the heavenly planet systems. Still, it is not clear, Prabhuji. I don't know. I guess only for me or others also.
No, I think it's a network, Prabhuji. You can continue.
Okay, not an issue. I will do it here, Prabhuji. I'll just go there and come back.
Okay,
Not an issue.
okay.
Video will just go off for a couple of seconds. That's it. Tena ajanabhe smritimad janma. So this again is a very important word. Ajanabha is nothing but Bharata Varsha. Ajanabha Varsha, because Aja, as you know, is the father of Dasharatha. He was a very renowned personality, and because of which Brahma gave Aja, who is the father of Dasharatha. Ramachandra's father is Dasharatha, and Dasharatha's father is Aja. Because he was a very renowned personality, Brahma gave a benediction that this entire Bharata Varsha will also be known as Ajanabha Varsha. Ajanabha Varsha. So then, if any pious credits that we have done in the heavenly planetary systems remain, then let us get a Smritimat Janma in the Ajanabha Varsha. That is how the demigods are praying. Smritimat Janma. What does Smritimat Janma mean? Is again a very important word. Smritimat Janma refers to a Nrijanma, according to the Acharyas who have commented on this verse. Nrijanma is nothing but a Manava Janma, or a human birth. Right? Why is a human birth so special? All of us know. All of us have heard many times. We have heard so many times from Srila Prabhupada himself about the importance of a human birth. Right? So, Andrijanma. Andrijanma in the Bharata Varsha, in the Ajanabha Varsha. Let me just go to the commentary on this verse. There are a few important words in the commentary. I'll just go to the commentary and read a few relevant sections. So, Just opening. Yeah. So evam bharate mumukshun prastuya. So till now, what the demigods have done is that the mumukshun means moktum ichchaha. The ones who desire liberation. They have glorified the ones who desire liberation who are present in the Bharatavarsha. Now they are glorifying human birth itself in Bharatavarsha. Yadi naha asmakam kritasya svistasya samyak yajanasya. So svistasya means samyak yajanasya. Yajanasya means yagas. So swarga sukha sukhena avasheshitam asmabhi kritam yagadi rupam swargadi sukham sampadya. If anything, any pious credits remains after we have enjoyed everything that we are supposed to enjoy in the heavenly planetary systems, then let us take tena acharitena shubhena karmana naha asmakam ajanabhe bharate varshe bhagavad vishayaka smriti majjanma nrijanma syat. Nrijanma is so special because this helps one to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhagavad vishayaka smriti majjanma. It is so beneficial because it helps one to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. In other species of life, it is hardly even possible because other species, they are very much engrossed in their struggle for survival. And many times when we see National Geographic Channel or Discovery Channel, at that point in time, we realize how there is such a huge struggle for survival in the animal society. Of course, in human society also, as Kali Yuga is progressing, the struggle is also progressing. The struggle is also increasing day by day. But as comparatively speaking, there is minimal struggle for survival in the human species of life as compared to all the other 8,400,000 species of life, right? So in the human form of life, one gets an opportunity to hear about the Supreme Lord, especially when he gets to take his birth in a land like Mother India and in a family that is connected to Sanatana Dharma. Right from birth, we get an opportunity to hear, right? Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj says that just like if a person who has the rarest of rare diamonds, a long back when in my childhood, I had seen a Kannada movie in which an actor, he was actually a fisherman, and this fisherman used to jump into the ocean and used to catch fish. But somehow once we know that ocean is not just a repository of fish, but it also contains so many wonderful jewels and diamonds and everything. So somehow he came in touch with one diamond, which is actually the rarest of rare diamonds. But he did not know the value of that diamond, right? So he kept it inside. And what was he using that diamond for? He was using this diamond for, he was using his diamond as almost like a stone for, hitting some things and, powdering some things in his kitchen, powdering, something else. He was using it for very, very meager purposes because he didn't know the value of that diamond. Right? So Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj says that when one has a diamond, he may not understand the value of that diamond. Why? Because it is a very it is not unusual for him, and it is just a day-to-day fact of the matter that he has that diamond. But others who see that diamond, they will understand the value of that diamond, right? So similarly, when all of us, we have taken our birth in Bharatavarsha, and that too in a very sacred land of India, and we have very nice conditions over here for executing bhakti. So we may not understand, but the Westerners, they understand the value of such a birth, right? So here, of course, the heavenly planetary systems, the demigods are praying for a birth in Bharatavarsha, and they are saying that Atishaya Indriya Utsukaha and all that. But if we don't understand, one of the senior devotees from whom I had heard, he says that we can relate that to going to the West or going to those countries which are actually much more materially well off than India, right? So going to those countries is like going to the heavenly planetary systems only, just like going to all these countries where there is extraordinary material prosperity available. It is like going to those planets only. So We may not understand that, taking birth in a land like India, in a country like India, where everything is so nice, everything is so wonderful for the execution of bhakti, we will not understand the value. But when we see the Westerners coming to India, coming to places like Varanasi and in Vrindavan and in the south, like Udupi and all these places, they want to study our bhakti literature, they want to chant, they want to sing and dance. That time we get an idea of what kind of wonderful birth we have already got in this country, right? And that's what Prabhupada intended to do also. He wanted to bring his Western devotees to India, Western disciples to India, and then by bringing them to India, he wanted to spread the glories of bhakti through them, right? That's what he wanted to do. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes, just a second, let's go to the purport. Few points I just like to highlight from the purport. Just a second. Yeah. So in the purport, after Prabhupada describes about the fall from the heavenly planetary systems, Prabhupada says, nevertheless, the demigods desire to come to the land of Bharatavarsha if even a small portion of the merits of their pious activities remains. In other words, to take birth in Bharatavarsha, one must perform more pious activities than the demigods. This is what he says. If one wants to take birth in the land of Bharatavarsha, he has to perform more pious activities than what the demigods have performed. Why? Because a birth in Bharatavarsha gives one a ticket or entrance to bhakti, but a birth in the heavenly planetary systems doesn't necessarily give one a ticket to bhakti. In fact, conditions are much more unfavorable over there than in the land of Bharata, right? So therefore, Drijanma, Smritimat Janma, that one is talking about over here. Smritimat means to be able to remember. Smritimat means to be able to remember. So Sridhara Swami in the commentary on this verse, he says, Harireva Sevyaha iti Smritimat. Smritiman means he can remember that Harireva Sevyaha. I need to worship Hari only. I need to worship my Ishtadevata of Krishna only. That he can remember when he gets his birth in the Bharatavarsha. Right? So Narada, when he is quoting the demigods over here, he's actually giving pramana to all the residents of the Bharatavarsha that you guys want to go to the heavenly planetary systems, but those who have already gone there, they want to come back to your place. Just like the same example that those students who are in their final year or something like that, they want to go to the US or to other countries. But those who are already in the US, they have already experienced everything from birth only. They want to come to India to see what kind of values do the Indians hold, right? So this is what Narada is doing effectively. So Harireva Sevyaha, Smritimat Janma. Smritimat Janma means to be able to remember, right? Just like in that the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also, when Krishna describes about what we were just discussing about a person, Yoga Bhrashta, a person who went to the heavenly planetary systems, he has come back now to Bhuloka, he gets a very elevated birth. But after that he says, what kind of birth is that? He says that, let me just go to that verse. Tatratam buddhi sanyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana. So there, when he gets such a very elevated birth in the families of Brahmanas or the Vaishyas, or more to say in the family of devotees especially, he's that kind of a birth is simply like sleeping and getting up, like that he says. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labate purvadehikam supta prabuddhavat. Supta prabuddhavat means just like sleeping and getting up. What is he referring to over there? Just like when we sleep, we put all our thoughts to rest. And when we get up, we start doing everything from the point we left off in the night. Right? So similarly, a person who gets a birth in the devotee's family, especially, he actually continues from wherever he left off his devotional service in the previous life. Of course, in between, he went to the heavenly planetary systems and then he came back. But after he came back, he doesn't remember what he did in the heavenly planetary systems. He only gets to continue his devotional service from the point from where he left off. From the point where he left off, right? So Supta Prabuddhavat, like that. So that kind of a Janma we want. Smriti Mat Janma. That is a Smriti Mat Janma. Smriti Mat means we will remember from the point where we left off. That is the entire discussion in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, where which Prabhupada is to quote again and again. Neha Vikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate. There is no loss or diminution in this path. You will continue from the point where you left off, right? The path of devotional service. But on the other paths, like in the path of karma, if it's just karma, even without karma yoga, he gets to go to the heavenly planetary systems, but when he comes back, there is no guarantee of his birth. There is no guarantee of what kind of family he will take his birth, not even what kind of species he will take his birth in, right? So therefore, the demigods are praying for a manava janma. Smriti mat janma means refers to janma. A manava janma, that too, that birth from where we can very easily continue from where we left off our devotional service, right? So we want that kind of a birth where we will understand that Harireva Sevyaha, that Krishna is the only personality to be served. We have served enough number of people in all our previous lives. Now we want to come to the point of realizing that only Krishna needs to be served. We want such kind of a birth. The demigods are saying this, right? So we need to take these words quite seriously, right? Of course, in our day-to-day life, as we progress, as we go about our day-to-day devotional activities, many times we lose sight. We lose sight of the fact that we have been so fortunate. We lose track of our fortune. This I'm saying for myself more than anybody else. We lose track of how much fortunate we have been. Just like yesterday in the lecture also, Dinamadhu Chaitanya Prabhu was saying how fortunate we are that we finally got to come into Srila Prabhupada's movement. But before that, there are so many other conditions that also have been fulfilled, right? First of all, we got a birth in Bharatavarsha. In Bharatavarsha also, we got a birth in the land of Mother India. That is also to be appreciated. Of course, the demigods are not talking about birth in the tract of land called India today, which is limited to some geography. But still, that is to be appreciated because there are many favorable conditions over here. If one gets a birth in some land like Africa or Pakistan, somewhere like that, it is quite difficult to execute bhakti, even if he is born into Sanatana Dharma only. But or even if it comes to Krishna consciousness by the preaching of some devotees, practicing there is so difficult. There are so many devotees who actually lost their lives in countries like Africa and in Russia and other places, right? So that is also, we have been very, very fortunate that we got our birth in the tract of land called India also, where execution of bhakti is so natural for everybody. And then we got a human birth here. There are so many other species who are living in India. Maybe even all the 8,400,000 species also may be living in India. But we got a human birth in India. And finally, we came in touch with devotees and we came to ISKCON. And right now, all of us, I guess, are initiated. And now we are, we are just almost like one step away from going back to Godhead. Of course, there is a long way to go. But in comparison to the entire journey that we have had in this material world, we are very close in that comparison to that journey, right? There is a lot of anartha nivritti and everything that is supposed to happen, but in comparison to the entire journey, that the journey that we are yet to progress, that is quite small, right? And by the strength of the mercy of all of our acharyas, that also will be executed, right? So many times we lose track of this fortune, the fortunate position which we are blessed with, right? So when we read these kinds of verses, we get to realize that get to realize our fortune. Just like the person who had the diamond, if somebody comes and tells him that, hey, arey, Baba, you are using that diamond for making powder of your spices and everything, but that actually costs crores of rupees, and you can become a millionaire overnight if you just sell this diamond. Just like Gauram Prabhu says one more thing about sandalwood. We discuss this generally when we discuss the Kunti Maharani section in the 8th chapter of the first canto. Malayasyeva Chandanam. Just like Malaya hills are not the only place where sandalwood comes, but Malaya Hills are more known for sandalwood. Similarly, Vasudeva and Devaki, they gave birth to Krishna like that. So Malaya Hills, what used to happen is that there is a story which is described in the form of a verse that Ati Parichayad Avajnat, Ati Parichayat Avajnat, I don't remember the entire verse. So Ati Parichaya means too much of familiarity. Avagya means disrespect. Too much of familiarity leads to disrespect. Ati Parichayat Avajnat. Malaye Bhilla Purandri Chandanam Kurukashta Indanam Kurute. I'm forgetting the in between the second line. The third and fourth lines are like this. Malaye Bhilla Purandri Chandanam Kurukashta Indanam Kurute. There was a lady called Purandri who was to live in the Malaya Hills. In today's Malaysia or in Jagannath Puri, or we have sandalwood in Mysore only, which is very close. So she used to live amidst the sandalwood trees. And she never knew the value of sandalwood. Right from birth, she used to live over there. And what she used to do, every day she had to cook and she needed firewood. So where was firewood? Firewood was there all around her place, right? So she used to cut sandalwood and used to use it as, thank you. Ati Parichayad Avajnat Satata Gamanat Anadaro Bhavati. Satata Gamanat means by constantly experiencing something, we lose sight of the value of that particular thing, right? Just like even children, because the children, they respect their teachers in their schools and in their professional colleges and all that, but they may not respect their parents as much as they respect their teachers. Many times because they are seeing their parents in and out every day. So similarly, this lady, what she used to do is that she used to bring the firewood and she used to bring the sandalwood and she used to use it as firewood, right? Just imagine, sandalwood she's using as firewood. She's making ashes out of sandalwood. I am sure that place must have been a very, very fragrant place because she was using that sandalwood as a firewood. But the point is that she didn't know the value of that sandalwood, right? Chandanam Kurukashta Indanam Kurute. From Chandan, she was making Indana, right? So, if somebody comes and tells her that this sandalwood is worth crores and crores of rupees, that's how Veerappan became a millionaire overnight. He sold so much of sandalwood in the Mysore area and he became a millionaire overnight, right? So, if somebody comes and tells her, then she will realize the value, right? So, this is how the demigods are telling us. We should take this instruction of the demigods in such light only, that we as human beings, we have got everything such wonderfully, all the conditions have been met. We are such very close to going back to Godhead. But now, as Prabhupada used to say, the Indians, they are so close to God, but they are turning away from God. Just like if this is God, this is my right hand represents God, the Indians are so close, but they are turning this way, right? But the Westerners are quite far because their culture and everything is so far from Vedic civilization, but they are turning towards God, right? So the demigods, they are actually instigating us to turn back towards our Vedic culture and to turn back towards Krishna. So Harireva Sevyaha. So please realize that we are desiring such a Janma, Smritimat Janma. Smritimat means we want to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is not possible, which is hardly possible in these heavenly planetary systems. Tena ajanabhe smritimat janma naha syat. Syat means let there be a smritimat janma in the ajanabha varsha. Harir yad bhajatam shamtanoti. That's how they end. Harir yad bhajatam shamtanoti. Harihi refers to Krishna or to any Vishnu Tattva. Just like Narasimha is also called Hari. We saw that in the Hari Varsha because Hari also means a lion. Hari also may mean a monkey, right? So in that sense, we can also refer to Hanuman as Hari, right? So anyway, so Haririyat bhajatam shamtanoti. They are saying that Supreme Lord Krishna, he actually makes sure that everything turns out auspicious in the life of the devotees who worship him. Yat bhajatam, the ones who worship him, everything will be auspicious. Sarva amangalam harayati iti harihi. That's how Prabhupada explained many times. Amangala means inauspiciousness. Harihi, the person who removes all the inauspicious from a devotee's life and provides only auspiciousness, which we may not realize all the time, right? Because many times when we have everything going well in our life, we may feel that actually Hari is acting in our life, but any challenges that may come up, we may not feel the presence. But even the challenges that come up, they are actually the Mangalakara. They are actually the sign of auspiciousness in the lives of the devotees, which is given directly by Krishna himself. Right? So, Shamtanoti. Shamtanoti means he gives auspiciousness to all his devotees. How? Because the land of Bharatavarsha itself is such wonderful that Krishna has come in his different incarnations repeatedly in this land. That's how Veera Raghavacharya explains in the commentary of this verse. I was just going through before half an hour. So he says that this land of India, the Bharatavarsha itself, especially this land of India, has been made so auspicious. Why? Because Hari came in so many incarnations on this land. He came in the prominent 10 avatars. And apart from that, we know about the 22 avatars that the first canto, third chapter describes. And they are not just limited to them. The avatars are unlimited, right? So unlimited times Krishna has come to Bharatavarsha in his different incarnations. Right? So although the predominating deities are the Naranarayan Rishi who stay at Badrinath. Last year we had gone to Badrinath. It is very difficult to go to Badrinath also today, right? So many landslides happening and everything. And even after going there, it is so cold. I had gone for a Char Dham Yatra last year. The coldest place I felt, even amongst the Char Dham, which are known to be the coldest places in India, also might not be the coldest places, at least one of the coldest places. Even amongst them, Badrinath is very, very cold, right? Extreme cold. So it is very difficult for anybody to stay in Badrinath and worship Naranarayan Rishi. We may only go for a yatra and come back, right? But Veera Raghavacharya says that although Naranarayan Rishi are the worshipable deities, but still Krishna has come in unlimited incarnations to this Bharatavarsha, and therefore Harir Yat Bhajatam Shamtanoti. He has made this most suitable for one to execute his bhakti. Therefore, one who has gotten this human form of life already, and moreover, he has come to the association of devotees. He has started his practice of bhakti. He has made himself stable by accepting initiation vows. He should never turn back. He is on the royal road back to Godhead, as Prabhupada said. He is on the royal road back to Godhead, and his birth is actually desired by even the demigods and everybody else. And therefore, such a person should never turn back, and he should go straight on the royal road back to Godhead. Right? That's how Srila Prabhupada says. There are a few more things to say, but it's time. We are just 2 minutes to closing. So I'd just like to stop over here. I thank all the devotees for paying a patient ear to whatever I had to blabber. I am certainly not qualified to speak in this August assembly, but still, all the devotees, they make me speak very often. So I thank everybody for being a patient here. Hare Krishna. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class, especially reminding us the glories of Bharatavarsha. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. If there are any questions, inputs, or comments, please share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, as you said in Bhagavad Gita, is it advantageous only for the yogis to be born in rich families? Because in the present world, we see children in the rich families, they usually become degenerated, Prabhu. So you should have been a yogi in the previous Janma to take advantage of that, or how we should understand, Prabhu? And so we see example.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Mataji. That's an extension of what I discussed, what Prabhupada always says, that although birth in the families of Brahmanas and in the families of mercantile people who are extremely rich is actually because of one's previous good karma, which a yogi, they are yogis who gave up the path of yoga right at the beginning. Adaveva means right at the beginning they gave up. But those who executed for some time and then gave up, they will get to take their birth in the family of devotees. That's how it is explained. But Prabhupada makes it very clear. Although that is the case, But Brahmanas often get very, very proud of their birth. I have seen such examples many times in my own family. I've seen Brahmanas getting extremely proud, and therefore they don't take advantage of their wonderful situation. And the people who are born rich, the people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, they often go astray, as you very rightly say. You were very rightly said about Nalakuvera and Manikriva. In this world also, we have seen so many examples. Children of rich families often go astray because they get into bad habits and everything. And therefore, although that advantage is there, but still disadvantages are also there of such births. Right? So therefore, unless one comes to the platform of understanding devotional service, no position is actually stable. That's how Srila Prabhupada says. Right? A devotee's position itself is not stable. Unless he comes to the platform of Nishtha, his position itself is not very stable. But his position is much more stable than people outside. Of course, the birth in the families of Brahmanas may be very much glorified in the outside world, but devotees understand that that is not all in all, and that is not a stable position itself. It is very unstable, because once one gets proud of his birth, then the opportunity to take advantage of that birth is lost, right? So there are hardly any Brahmin families today, although their predecessors were very nice Brahmanas. But today, because of the influence of time, because of the influence of Kali Yuga and everything, there are hardly any Brahmana families practicing what their predecessors used to practice, right? Because of the struggle for survival, most of the Brahmanas, they have come to cities. You hardly get to see any Brahmanas in the villages today. All Brahmanas are in the city. And if they're living their city life, they will get into all kinds of habits along there, along with others also. So the Brahmana birth or the Vaishya birth itself is not glorious. It is glorious in the sense only that they have certain advantage. So Prabhupada gives an example, Radheshyam gives an example that just like a person who gets into IIT and a person who is studying in some other college. Actually speaking, a person who is in IIT, he has an advantage that he can get better placed, or he can get, he can study better. He has more opportunities to understand the subject matter. But unless and until he puts his own effort for doing so, if he gets complacent after getting into IIT, then he will not reap the fruit of actually getting into IIT, right? So he will, on the other hand, if the person who is studying some other college, a good college only, but not as good as IIT, he may reap the full benefit of that college, and he may get a much more better position tomorrow than the person who graduated from IIT, right? So it is like that. Brahmana families advantages only in the sense that some good samskaras are there, but those samskaras, if they are making a person proud, that kind of a person will actually degenerate to a worse position than anybody else. That is the truth of the matter. Prabhupada says about that, and you reminded me about that. Thank you, Mataji. Is there any other point of discussion, or anything anybody would like to share?
So, Prabhu, even if the yogi is born, he has to take advantage. It depends on him only. No,
Yes.
Prabhu?
Certainly,
Yes.
certainly. He is at an advantage that he can start from where he left off. He is given that remembrance according to Bhagavad Gita, especially the second kind of a person who gets to take a birth in devotee's family. But after that, they have to write their own planes. As Prabhupada says, everybody has to write their own planes ultimately, like that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I think if there are no further questions,
we can end the session. Thank you. With Vaishnav pranams. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Vaishnav Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you once again, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Devotees will meet again tomorrow at the same time. Hare Krishna.